Friends, we take the new book, Matchless Gift. It's one of my favorites book. It's by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This book is divided into 8 parts. The first part is spiritual knowledge through Krishna. Second part is getting out of the material mire. Third part is learning to love. Fourth part is learning tapasya, self-control. Fifth part is learning steadiness in Krishna consciousness. Sixth part is transcending designations and problems. Seventh part is liberation in Krishna consciousness. Eighth part is about the author. So friends, we'll cover each part in each video like we always do. We'll cover the first part in this video. First, spiritual knowledge through Krishna. The aim of this Krishna consciousness movement is to bring all living entities back to their original consciousness. All living entities within the material world are to varying degrees affected with type of madness. The Krishna consciousness aims at curing man of his material disease and re-establishing his original consciousness. In Bengali poem, a great Vaishnava poem has written, when a man is haunted by ghosts, he can speak only nonsense. Similarly, anyone who is under the influence of material nature should be considered haunted, and whatever he speaks should be considered nonsense. One may be considered a great philosopher or a great scientist, but if he is haunted by the ghost of Maya illusion, whatever he theorizes and whatever he speaks is more or less nonsensical. Today, we are given the example of a psychiatrist who, when requested to examine a murderer, proclaimed that since all the patients with whom he has come in contact were more or less crazy, the court should excuse the murderer on the grounds if it so desired. The point is that in the material world it is very difficult to find a sane living entity. The prevailing atmosphere of insanity in this world is all caused by the infection of material consciousness. The purpose of this Hare Krishna movement is to bring man back to his original consciousness, which is Krishna consciousness, clear consciousness. When water falls from the clouds, it is uncontaminated like distilled water, but as soon as it touches the ground, it becomes muddy and discolored. Similarly, we are originally pure spirit, soul, part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore our original constitutional position is as pure as God's. In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Mame vansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana mana shastrani indriyani prakrite sthani karshati. The living entity in the conditioned world are my fragmental parts, and they are eternal. But due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses which include the mind. Bhagavad Gita 15.17. Thus all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. By Krishna, it should always be remembered that we are all speaking of God. Krishna denoting all attractive supreme personality of Godhead. As a fragment of gold is qualitatively the same as a gold reservoir, so the minute particle of Krishna's body are therefore qualitatively as good as Krishna. The chemical composition of God's body and the eternal spiritual body of the living entity is the same spiritual. Thus, originally in our contaminated condition, we possessed a form as good as God's. But just as rainfall falls on the ground, so we can come in contact with this material world, which is manipulated by the external material energy of Krishna. When we speak of external energy or more material nature, the question may be raised, whose energy? Whose nature? Material energy or nature is not active independently. Such a concept is foolish. In Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that material nature does not work independently. When a foolish man sees a machine, he may think that it is working automatically, but actually it is not. There is a driver, someone in control. Although we sometimes cannot see the controller behind the machine due to our defective vision, there are many electronic mechanisms which work very wonderfully. But behind this intricate system, there is a scientist who pushes the button. This is very simple to understand. Since the machine is matter, it cannot work on its own accord, but must work under the spiritual direction. A tape recorder works, but it works according to plans and under the direction of a living entity, a human being. The machine is complete, but unless it's manipulated by a spirit soul, it cannot work. Similarly, we should understand that this cosmic manifestation, which we call nature, is a great machine, and behind this machine there is God, Krishna. This is also affirmed in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Maya dakshine prakriti suyate characharam hetu ane konteya jagad vipravartate. The material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all the moving and unmoving beings, and by its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. There are 2 kinds of entities, the moving such as human beings, animals and insects, and non-moving such as trees and mountains. Krishna says that material nature, which controls both kinds of entities, is acting under his direction. Thus, behind everything there is a supreme controller. Modern civilization does not understand this due to lack of knowledge. It is the purpose of this society of Krishna consciousness, therefore, to enlighten all people who have been maddened by the influence of the 3 modes of material nature. In other words, our aim is to awaken mankind to its normal condition. There are many universities, especially in the United States, and many departments of knowledge, but they are not discussing these points. Where is the department of this knowledge? What we find given by Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. When I spoke before students of some faculty members at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the first question raised was, where is the technological department which is investigating the difference between a dead man and a living man? When a man dies, something is lost. Where is the technology to replace it? Why don't scientists try to solve this problem? Because it's a very difficult subject matter, they set it aside and busily engage in technology of eating, sleeping, mating and defending. However, Vedic literatures inform us that this is animal technology. Animals are also trying their best to eat well, to have an enjoyable sex life, to sleep peacefully and to defend themselves. What then is the difference between man's knowledge and animals' knowledge? The fact is that man's knowledge should be developed to explore that difference between a living man and a dead man, a living body and a dead body. The spiritual knowledge was imparted by Krishna to Arjuna in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Being a friend of Krishna, Arjuna was a very intelligent man, but his knowledge, as all men's, was limited. Krishna spoke, however, of subject matters which was beyond Arjuna's finite knowledge. Those subject matters are adokshaja because of our direct perception by which we acquire material knowledge fails to approach them. For instance, we have many powerful microscopes to see what we cannot see with our unlimited vision, but there is no microscope that can show us the soul within the body. Nevertheless, the soul is there. Bhagavad Gita informs us that this body there is a proprietor. I am the proprietor and others are the proprietors of their bodies. I say my hand but not I hand. Since it's my hand, I am different from the hand, being its owner. Similarly, we speak of my eye, my leg, my this, my that. In midst of all these objects which belong to me, where am I? The search of answer to this question is the process of meditation. In real meditation, we ask, where am I? What am I? We cannot find the answers of these questions by any material effort. And because of this, all these universities are setting these questions aside. They say it's too difficult a subject, or they brush it aside. It is irrelevant. Thus, engineers direct their attention to creating and attempting to perfect the horseless carriage and wingless bird. Formerly, horses were drawing carriages and there was no air pollution. But now there are cars and rockets and the scientists are very proud. We have invented horseless carriages and wingless birds, they boast. Although they invent imitation wings for the airplane or rocket, they cannot invent a soulless body. When they are capable to actually do, they will deserve credit. But such an attempt would necessarily be frustrated, for we know that there is no machine that can work without a spirit soul beyond it. Even the most complicated computers need trained men to handle them. Similarly, we should know that this great machine, which is known as the cosmic manifestation, is manipulated by a supreme spirit. That is Krishna. Scientists are searching for the ultimate cause or ultimate controller of this material universe and are postulating different theories and proposals. But the real means of knowledge is very easy and perfect. We need to only hear from the perfect person, Krishna. By accepting the knowledge imparted in Bhagavad Gita, anyone can immediately know that this great cosmic machine, of which Earth is a part, is working so wonderfully because there is a driver behind it, Krishna. Our process of knowledge is very easy. Krishna's instruction. Bhagavad Gita is the principal book of knowledge given by the Adipurusha himself, the Supreme Primeval himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is indeed the perfect person. It may be argued that although we have accepted him as a perfect person, there are many others who do not. But one should not think that this acceptance is whimsical. He is accepted as the perfect person on the evidence of many authorities. We do not accept Krishna as perfect simply on the basis of whims or sentiments. No. Krishna is accepted as God by many Vedic authorities like Vyasadeva, the author of Vedic literature. The treasure house of knowledge is contained in the Vedas and their author. Vyasadeva accepts Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Vyasadeva's spiritual master Narada also accepts Krishna as such. Narada's spiritual master Brahma accepts Krishna not only as the Supreme Person but as the Supreme Controller as well. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Brahma Samhita 5.1. The Supreme Controller is Krishna. There is no one in the creation who can claim that he is not controlled. Everyone, regardless of how important or powerful, has a control over his head. Krishna, however, has no control. Therefore, he is God. He is the controller of everyone. But there is no one superior to him, no one to control him, nor is there anyone equal to him. No one to share his platform of absolute control. This may sound very strange, and there may be so-called gods nowadays. Indeed, gods have become very cheap, being specially imported from India. People in other countries are fortunate that gods are not manufactured there. But in India, gods are manufactured practically every day. We often hear that God is coming to Los Angeles or New York, and the people are gathered to receive him. But Krishna is not that type of God, manufactured in a mystic factory. No, he is not made God, but he is God. We should know that on the basis of authority that beyond the gigantic material nature, the cosmos manifestation, there is God Krishna, and he is accepted by all Vedic authorities. Acceptance of authority is not new for us. Everyone accepts authority in some form or the other. For education, we go to teacher or to a school, or simply learn from our father and mother. They are all authorities, and our nature is to learn from them. In our childhood, we asked, Father, what is this? And he would say, this is a pen. These are spectacles, or this is table. In this way, from the very beginning of life, child learns from his father and mother. He learns the names of things and the basic relations of one thing to another. By questioning the parents, a good father and a mother never cheat when their son inquires from them. They give exact and correct information. Similarly, if we get spiritual information from an authority, the authority is not a cheater, then our knowledge is perfect. If we attempt to reach conclusions by dint of our own speculative powers, however, we are subject to fall in error. The process of induction by which reasoning from particular facts or individual cases one can arrive at a general conclusion is never a perfect process, because we are limited and our experience is limited. It always will remain imperfect. If we receive information from the perfect source, Krishna, if we repeat that information, then we are speaking can also be accepted as perfect and authoritative. The process of parampara or disciplic succession is the very process of hearing from Krishna, from authorities who have accepted Krishna and repeating exactly what they have said in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna recommends this process of knowledge. Evam parapara praptam evam rajsa vidu. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood in that way. Bhagavad Gita 4.2. Formerly, knowledge was passed down by great saintly kings who were authorities. In previous stages, however, these kings were rishis, great learned scholars and devotees. Because they were not ordinary men, the government which they headed worked very nicely. There are many instances in Vedic civilizations of kings who attained perfection as devotees of God. For example, Dhruv Maharaj went to the forest to search out God, and by practice of severe penances and austerity found within 6 months. Although he was only a 5-year-old prince with a very delicate body, he was successful because he followed the directions of his spiritual master Narada. The first month Dhruva Maharaj was in the forest, he simply ate same fruits and vegetables over every 3 days and drank a little water every 6 days. He finally restricted his inhalation where and stood for 6 months on one leg only. After he executed these severe austerities for half a year, God became manifest from him eye to eye. It is not necessary for us to practice such severe austerities, but simply by following the footsteps of Vedic authorities, we can see God's eye to eye. The vision of God is the perfection of life. The Krishna conscious process is based on austerity, but it's not very difficult. There are restrictions governing eating and sex life. Only prasadam, food first offered to Krishna, is taken, and sex is restricted to married life. There are other regulations which facilitate and foster spiritual realization. It is not possible in these days to imitate Dhruva Maharaj by following certain Vedic principles. We can make advancement in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. As we advance, we become perfect in knowledge. What is the use of becoming a scientist or a philosopher if we cannot say that what our next life will be? A realized student of Krishna consciousness can very easily say what his next life will be, what God is, what the living entity is, and what his relationship with God is. His knowledge is perfect because he is coming from the perfect book of knowledge such as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. This then is the process of Krishna consciousness. It is very easy and anyone can adopt it and make his life perfect. If someone says I am not educated at all and I cannot read books, he is still not disqualified. He can still perfect his life by simply chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna has given us a tongue and 2 ears, and we may be surprised to know that Krishna is realized through the ears and tongue and not through the eyes. By hearing his message, we learn to control the tongue, and after the tongue is controlled, the other senses follow. For all the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and difficult to control. But it can be controlled by something chanting Hare Krishna and taking Krishna Prasad offered to Krishna. We cannot offer Krishna by sensual perception or by speculation. It is not possible. Krishna is so great that he is beyond our sensual urge. But he can be understood by surrender. Krishna therefore recommends this process. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja tam sarva papebhyo moksheshami ma sucha. Give up all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. In return, I shall protect you from all sinful reactions. Therefore, you have nothing to fear. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. Unfortunately, our disease is that we are rebellious. We automatically resist authority. Yet, although we say that we don't want authority, nature is so strong that it forces authority upon us. We are forced to accept the authority of nature. What can be more pathetic than a man who claims to answer to no authority, but who follows his senses blindly whenever they lead them? Our false claim of independence is simply foolishness. We are all under authority, yet we say that we don't want authority. This is called Maya, illusion. We do, however, have a certain independence. We can choose to be under the authority of our senses or authority of Krishna. The best and ultimate authority is Krishna, for he is our eternal well-wisher, and he always speaks for our benefit. Simply we have to accept some authority. Why not accept his? Simply by hearing of his glories from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, by chanting his names, Hare Krishna, we can swiftly perfect our lives. Thank you so much for the patient hearing.